My friends, may I speak to you in the name of the one holy and living God. Amen. Well, some of you may have, in all of your spare time, read my lengthy email about how to prepare during the season of Advent. Perhaps you've already done some of your Christmas decorating. Perhaps some of you have already purchased your tree and hung up lights and ornaments. Perhaps some of you have pulled out a dusty Advent wreath. Others may have Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus lying in a manger out on your coffee table. We are all ready. We are all in need of some Christmas hope and joy, are we not? And one of my suggestions for you as you prepare for our coming celebration of Christmas is to consider participating in a social media initiative. I know for some of us that might be strange, but perhaps just use it as an opportunity for reflection every day. The Episcopal Church has this amazing Advent devotional called Advent Word. A bunch of people get together every year and they assign one word in particular for each Sunday of Advent. For me as a millennial, it's fun because I have to look around my world and consider, how do I see prophecy today and post an Instagram photo? Or how do I see wilderness today? Well, that's easy, living in Tahoe. But their devotional word for this morning, the first Sunday of Advent, our new year in the Christian calendar, the word is tender. Tender. And now when you think of today's readings and their apocalyptic, otherworldly nature, you perhaps don't think of the word tender in particular. But I actually think it's a really appropriate reading, an appropriate word for today. Because if you were like me, as we undergo this second quasi kind of shutdown or pause, as we have to worship fully online again, as some of us made really difficult decisions not to host large family Thanksgivings, you all, I reckon to guess, might feel kind of tender. We all might feel a little delicate, a little fragile right now. Some of us feel alone. Some of us feel overwhelmed. Some of us feel anxious. Some of us perhaps a little stir crazy from being in the house a little too much. Some of us feel trepidatious. Some of us feel despondent. And some of us might even feel like, where the heck is God in the middle of all of this? I think each of us in our own way feels really tender right now. And I first of all want to tell you that this is normal, that there's a collective tenderness, fragileness going on right now. Because the reality is we're all undergoing global trauma. We have completely reshaped and reformed the way we walk around in this world. And it seemed to change overnight in March. And so I encourage you, as you feel that kind of tenderness, to be gracious with yourself. And we all now look at the world around us a little differently because of this global pandemic. I can't help but sit with my eventual daughter, Annabelle, and feel a little sad to hear her say while we're watching television, well, why aren't they wearing masks? or to step a couple feet away from someone at the grocery store, or to not immediately run up and hug a friend of mine that I see out hiking. I have to admit that, like myself, who tends to be an over exuberant extrovert, this time has caused me to become a little bit more reserved and calculated and contemplative, for better or for worse. My friends, we are all tender right now. We all have some kind of wound from this time that is in need of healing. But what I love about the word tender for this first Sunday of Advent is that it also represents something new. It represents growth. Consider the fig tree from today's gospel. I mean, or perhaps let's use a Tahoe image. Consider a pine tree. Consider going out for a hike in the late spring and early summer when all of the wildflowers are about to bloom or already are, and you look at the branch of a pine tree and you see that at the very, very tip, that it's not the same color, that it's lighter, more flexible, and it doesn't actually hurt your finger when you prick it. It doesn't feel like that much of a pine needle at all. But it's a piece of new growth, and it's tender and fragile and delicate. And yet at the same time, it's a representation of something new, of something fresh, of something budding and bursting forth. And the same goes for the fig tree in today's gospel. It's a sign that summer is coming. It's a sign that something new is happening. It's a sign that something beautiful is about to spring forth. Or consider our passage from the prophet Isaiah today. I love the image of being clay in the potter's hands. But if you've ever worked with clay, it's pretty moldable, and it doesn't set necessarily all that quickly. Even as the potter has remolded it and reshaped it, it still is fragile, is tender, is delicate. It needs time to dry and to take its shape. So my friends, although it's scary and anxiety producing to live in this space of being tender and fragile and delicate right now, it is also a sign that something new is happening, not only in us as individuals, but in the world around us. It is a sign that we are growing and reforming and reshaping and slowly redirecting our attention on the divine. And so I'm going to ask you guys to help me with the rest of this sermon. So I'm going to encourage you to flex your theological muscles this morning, because it's a new year. And perhaps if you haven't been flexing those theological muscles regularly, well, we're getting on the treadmill together this morning. We're starting our workout routine for the new year, okay? So I want to ask you, how do you feel tender right now? Where do you feel fragile right now? And take a moment to sit on that. How do you feel tender right now? And then our next question, which I'm going to encourage you all to respond to with one another here. What new beginning might God be pointing you to? What new beginning might God be pointing you to? And my friends, as you are willing and able, I invite you to share that new beginning with one another.
Oh, uh-huh. Let's see if I can.
Hey, Daniel, can you stop your screen sharing, please?
No, right now, Zoom is frozen.
Oh, okay. Well, Daniel, what new beginning is happening in your life? Where are you growing right now?
Where am I growing right now? I am growing a lot in terms of community. I joined several new groups with virtually during the course of the pandemic, and a lot of those are really coming to fruition right now. Why is Zoom frozen?
It's okay.
I'm so
Don't stress.
angry. Yeah, it's just annoying.
Anyone else? What is your new beginning? How are you growing right now?
For me, I think it's just stripping down all of the extraneous things like, oh, we got to get to dance class, we got to get to soccer practice, we got to get to swim lessons, and just growing into the simplicity and connecting with God and through the family and through the four of us. It's been really beautiful.
And how about Connie, then Cindy?
For me and for Bob, we've started family reunions by at this time, and it's really been fun. That's been a new beginning for us. We've been doing it for several months now. And, in fact, at 1 o'clock this afternoon, we have another one. And so everybody who wants to from Florida and ourselves,
Maryland and New York and Connecticut,
we get together and just enjoy talking to one another and sharing past times and present times.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Thank you, friend. And Cindy?
I've been reading Celtic theology. I just finished 2 books that Jenny lent me by John Philip Newell. And it's been very confirming of what I really believe in Christianity. There's emphasis on Carl Jung, and there's just a lot of what I'm loving. But we do a lot of Zooming with our kids, but it's still hard to be far away, not nearby at all. And that's hard to overcome.
Yeah.
So those are the good things and some of the challenges.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? What new beginning is happening for you, or how are you growing during this time?
Well, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I have 4 close friends from college, and this is like 50, 60 years ago. But we've always maintained close. I mean, we're not living in the same part of the country anymore. And usually a couple times a year when we convene back in Berkeley, we get together for lunch, and the four of us, one's on the East Coast, a couple are still in Berkeley. Of course, I'm here in Tahoe. But while we've grown in different things, the one from the East Coast is obviously different politically, and the ones in Berkeley are different politically. But we've decided to have Zoom meetings every other week, Wednesday, for an hour. And one of us, three of us have had good lives, and one of us has had a very hard life. Not me, unfortunately. But the Zoom meetings have given us a way to get together, and in spite of the days our lives have taken us in different directions, to find that common area where we consider ourselves to be believers in God and Americans first, and the rest of it just doesn't seem to matter that much. So it's been a real blessing to renew those friendships on a more frequent basis. So that's one place to grow. The member that has had a hard life especially means a lot to him because he gets to reconnect in a way that, since he's very isolated right now, in a way that's really meaningful for him. So.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, Jeff.
The fragility of that you were talking about, the tenderness, to us, at least for me, it's the what you call the clunkiness of when we do things. We go out, we have to do a lot of extra procedures when we want to do something that used to be really simple.
Mm-hmm.
So things take more time, and you got to get used to that. And so behind that tenderness is a little bit of fear that if I don't do it right, if I don't do this correctly, if I don't use the hand sanitizer afterwards, or if I'm, whatever you're doing, then you could get the disease. And those of us that are over 65, which is not a magic age, but if you're over there, then you're at the higher risk, and you think, well, you might get seriously ill with this. And so that's sort of the tenderness. But for me, or the new beginning is Sally and I have never spent so much time together in 38 years, and we're getting to know each other better. And that's it. And we're learning how to cook every meal inside and all that stuff. It's such a radical change. So there's this John Lennon song, the Beatles, running everywhere at such a speed till they find there's no need. Well, that's how we sort of feel. There's not the need to run everywhere anymore. It's slowing us down, slowing me down anyway.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Jeff.
Trying to get Sally to say something, but
That is on her time when she is ready, if she would like.
We're learning also.
Say more, Marilyn.
Well, we're learning at a distance how to connect with family. And we did Zoom on Thanksgiving, including a granddaughter who is in Dubrovnik, and the others were in other parts of the country. And so we're going to do, as Connie said, have a Zoom meeting frequently just to keep up. But the biggest thing we're trying to learn to do is to be great grandparents with our first great grandchild. And it's hard because we haven't been able to hold her yet. But we're planning that soon. And but with Facebook, you get to see her all the time, and that's wonderful. So just trying to keep connections going that way is great.
Yeah, the blessings of technology. And I see Connie and Bob shaking their heads in affirmation, though they have a great grandbaby that they're eager to meet as well. What a blessing, friends.
Since May, Marilyn, since May.
Oh, since May. Mine's only 3 months old.
Oh, okay.
Well, friends, I thank you for everyone who shared. And I invite you, even if you haven't, to contemplate today, where are you tender? And how is that tenderness an opportunity for growth, for a new beginning, for a new learning as we embark upon a new year of life and love together? And I invite you to end our time together by responding to each phrase that I say with thanks be to God. And we do this at annual meetings, so I hope some of you remember. For all that has been,
Thanks be to God.
God.
For all that is,
Thanks be to God.
Be to God.
For all that shall be,
Thanks.
Thanks be to God.
Be to God.
amen.
Amen.
Amen.